stories are not just for kids, Disney, and bedtime. No, stories actually help us connect, sell, and remember things. So if you haven't been telling enough stories and you are missing a great part to be adding to your speeches, presentations, and even your introductions. Hey, I'm Laurie-Ann, and this is Be in Demand. This is the podcast for corporate leaders and entrepreneurs who are ready to be seen, be heard, and be that obvious choice for that next big opportunity. Before we dive into more about storytelling, if you're ready to be that person who is remembered before you ever say a word, that link to book a call with me is down below. I've got a few fall spots left open, and let's see if one of them has your name on it. You can book that call and learn more about how I work with clients one-on-one in my high-touch coaching program. And let's get you from point A to point B a whole lot faster. And the link to book that call is down below in the show notes. And I look forward to meeting you and learning a little bit more about you, your business, and your goals. Today, we're going to be talking about storytelling for credibility. I want you to tell, don't sell them. I want you to show them. And what I want you to get out of this particular episode is that I want you to see how a story will position you as an expert when you tell a story, not through some braggy, boring list of credentials. As a matter of fact, if you are speaking, whoever is introducing you, that introduction really sets the tone for your speech. But there is a way to share with people why you are the person to be standing in the front of the room and why the audience should continue to listen to you. I call this the authority section. And this is part of my in-demand signature speech methodology. After we've opened our speech and we've got the audience leaning in and intrigued, what naturally happens to your audience is they lean back, they cross their arms, and what they're thinking is, yeah, but why should I listen to you? And that's when we need to be sharing our authority section. So here's what an authority section is not. It is not some boring resume. We're not reading off all our credential or our LinkedIn profile. We want to share with the audience why we are the person to continue to listen to, why we are the person to learn from. And I also use transitional phrases from section to section. So from your intro, one of the things that I like to say is, if you've never seen me speak before, and then I go into the story about my introduction, I'm a reformed, painfully shy girl who accidentally said yes to speaking. And I spoke in the leadership and wrote books on leadership for over 20 years. And, and about 7 years ago, something happened that brought me into the online world. I got a text message from somebody who'd been in my audience, seen me speak a number of times. And the text message was, Laurie-Ann, do you write speeches for people? And then I have a little bit more of my story, but that is so much more intriguing than, well, I was speaking on leadership and corporate engagement for 20 years. And then back in 2017, I mean, like, that's just dull. It's got none of my personality in it. But I see people do this again and again and again. And as a matter of fact, I also see a lot of people skipping over their authority section because they feel uncomfortable bragging about themselves. So in the authority section of in-demand signature speech, you're being very conversational. I want you to have your audience be able to see what you have done in the past that has brought you to this point where you're standing in front of them, sharing with them your expertise, showcasing your business expertise. So instead of saying, I've been doing this for 10 years, you can say something like, I remember when I finally cracked the code on how to leverage speaking opportunity and bring in clients. That day that I got that text message, I had no idea how I did what I did, but in working with her and helping her knock it out of the park after her very first speech, I actually was able to put down on paper what my methodology was for crafting speeches, something that I did so automatically. It's a different story, and it shares with you something very different. So, if you were to tell a story about how you got here, why you're the person, what's the story that you would start telling people? So, telling a story that shares your credibility isn't just in the authority building section. That's just one area of the in demand signature speech. There are other places to be telling stories about that will explain your credibility. Telling a client story, the results that a client got. Let someone else's win explain to the audience exactly what you can help them do. I mean, one of my favorite stories to tell is a woman who hired me who was afraid of public speaking. Her name is Kim. And even Kim's friends thought she was foolish for hiring a speech coach, but she was determined that this fear of speaking was not going to keep holding her back, that she was going to basically get her life back. And through the course of us working together, she not only gave her very first speech, she also got on TV 5 times, and she also got a book deal, meaning she got paid to write a book on her expertise. And that all came about because somebody saw her speaking on stage. So there's one great story. So when I tell that story, anybody who's in the audience who's like, yeah, but I'm afraid of speaking. Well, that story helps them see themselves as, well, if that person could do it, and Laurie-Ann was a reformed painfully shy girl, maybe I can do it too. The person who's in the audience who's thinking, I would love to write a book. I would love to get on TV. Hearing Kim's story actually helps them overcome the objection that they were having, that they were thinking, or they were feeling. Because if Kim could do it, maybe they could too. Another great story is when you figured something out. When I figured out exactly what my in-demand signature speech methodology was. I mean, it didn't even have a name back then. It was just, this is the way that I write speeches. And it just came very natural to me, but it was also something that evolved over the years of giving speeches, really being able to look back on things, what worked, what didn't work. And that's basically like that moves us into the third type of story, which is a transformation story. How you went from A to B. And all of my clients are sharing some sort of transformation because you want your audience to see themselves in your transformation because they already raised their hand to being in the room with you, either in person or virtually. But that little micro yes says, I'm interested in your topic. I have the same pain. I want to know how you got from point A to point B. So your transformation story, being very open about how you got here, how you were in the dumps, how you were in the valley, and you climbed the mountain. You you achieved the goal, whatever the goal is, gave your first speech, wrote the book, had a sold out program, launched your business, left corporate, lost the weight, ran the marathon. There are so many different goals, and it doesn't have to be something like I climbed Mount Everest. Because there's not a whole lot of people in the world who are climbing Mount Everest or that are in your audience who want to climb Mount Everest. So even the most basic stories of how you went from point A to point B is really going to inspire an audience. And episode 333, when you listen to this episode, I want you to be in a quiet place, grab a piece of paper, or even if you're at the gym, just like you're gonna hear the exercise that I run you through, but I want you to take the time to actually sit down, grab the piece of paper, and do the exercise with the podcast as I'm like explaining it, because it will help you uncover a lot of your own stories. And you'll actually hear the audience that was on the Zoom call live share with me and share with you basically like some of the stories that they uncovered that they never thought about using or they hadn't even thought about in years. You are full of stories. You just haven't been giving yourself credit for it. I just want to wrap up this episode that your credibility is in your stories. Telling your story about how you got here, why you're the person to listen to, a client result, a moment that you mastered, your own transformation story. I mean, I'm a reformed, painfully shy girl who became an award-winning speaker. That's an amazing transformation to a lot of people who are afraid of speaking. And I hear so many times when people reply to my emails that like your story of being shy is really inspiring for me. So think about your stories. You are a lighthouse for someone. They are looking for you, and it's your story that's going to pull them in. And it's your story that is going to help your audience remember you. And what I mean by that is if somebody gets on a sales call with you, and maybe they didn't hear your story. Maybe they weren't in the room with you, but a friend of theirs was. You've got to follow the speaker that I just listened to. That's your audience remembering you, raving about you, and referring you to other people. And so somebody might hear of you from somebody else because their story is similar to your point A. For that very good friend also knows that you need to hear this person. You need to follow and learn from them. So remember, you have so many stories, and your credibility is in your stories. And that's what helps your audience remember you and remember the transformation that you are sharing. So here's my little homework assignment for you. I would love you to think about a moment that you could share that proves your value without saying your value, that proves your experience without telling people your experience. And I would love to hear this. Feel free to hop on over to Instagram or LinkedIn, whichever one is your favorite, and hit me up in the DMs. Share with me what that story is. And if you've been hanging around me for any amount of time, you know it's me that's going to reply to you. So if you want to hit me up in the DMs or you're on my email list, which I highly recommend that you are on my email list because my newsletters are very educational and it's got nothing to do with what's on the podcast. It's something completely different. And if you're not on my newsletter, that link will be down below, or you can go to speakandstandout.com/news. And if you are on my email list and want to reply back to one of my emails and share your story, I would love to hear that because you know it's me that's going to answer you and not a team member or a bot. So until next week, I want you to go be in demand, but also go find more stories.